How to Thrive in 25. You know, you were put on this planet not just to struggle and suffer and maybe survive. You were placed on this planet to thrive. And there is a new energy on the earth that makes it more feasible than ever for you to do so. This new energy on the earth is the energy of God that we have collectively called for. This new energy on the earth is more palpable, more present, and more vibrant. This new energy contains new information, new healing, new opportunities for growth, new power, and new vision. And we can put this new energy to work for us so that we can thrive instead of just suffering and struggling and maybe surviving in 2025. This new energy can help us to experience the most productive and fulfilling lives. So if you choose open your camera, even if just for a second. God doesn't care if you've got curlers in your hair. And just let us know, would you like to thrive in 2025? God doesn't care if you've got curlers in your hair. Let us know if you'd like to be more fulfilled in 2025. Just let us know. Let us know if you would like more of an uplift, less depression, less struggle in 2025. Just let us know. Well, we can do this. We can all do this. And there are spiritual tools, spiritual perspectives, and spiritual practices that can help us. And so I'm going to offer three of those today. And the three spiritual tools, practices, and perspectives I'm going to offer today are as follows. Loose yourself, choose joy, and play more. Loose yourself, choose joy, and play more. One of my favorite lessons in A Course in Miracles is I loose the world from what I thought it was. Because really, we don't think so much. We just regurgitate all the misinformation we've been fed. When we think we're thinking, we're just regurgitating misinformation. We think, I'm not good enough. We're just regurgitating the misinformation that someone told us when we believed ourselves to be less than perfect, whole, and complete. We're thinking there isn't enough. We're just regurgitating the energies of lack caused by the misperception of guilt. We're not thinking. So many of our thoughts are not thoughts at all. They're just echoes of miseducation. And we must loose ourselves of these thoughts. We must loose ourselves of these echoes of our miseducation. What if all of those things that we thought were thoughts, but are really grievances, fell away? What if all the thoughts of our not enoughness fell away? What if all the thoughts of our guilt fell away? What if all the thoughts of the difficulty of life fell away? For those are not what God intended, and those are not what God created. We made that up when we misperceived that we were separate from God. But what if all of that fell away? I call them grievances. A Course in Miracles call them grievances. Grievances that hide the light of God that we are. Grievances such as I am a body and not a soul. Grievances such as the world is a difficult place. Grievances such as God is mad at you and you've got to do something to get back into God's good graces. What if all of this fell away? If all of this fell away, all of those false thoughts would fall away. And if all of that fell away, the only thing left would be you and God. So imagine you and God sitting in the room without all those grievances. And imagine God just shining its light on you. Imagine God just shining its love on you. And imagine God just turning you into its flashlight. I'm not going to quote Parliament Funkadelic, but imagine God turning you into its flashlight where you could and would simply reflect, expand, and expose God's love for the world to see, for the world to receive, and for the world to emulate. Just imagine for a moment all those grievances gone. You would loose yourself of all ideas of not enoughness, for God's loving you tells you everything you need to know. You would loose yourself of all ideas of God's abandonment of you, because God is sitting right there with you, shining its light through you. And you would loose yourself of all those ideas you had about the world. For the world you experience in that moment is just the world of bliss, the world of peace, and the world of joy. So just take a moment right now and loose yourself. Just take a moment right now and just breathe for a moment. Breathe in the idea. There is only me and God, and we are one. There is no past. There is no future. There are no regrets of the past or worries about the future if there is no past or future. There is no inadequacy, for God shines all it is on me and through me, and God is all, and so am I. Just breathe this in for a moment. Just breathe in the idea. The power, grace, and glory of God is the power, grace, and glory that created me and lives within me. Just breathe that in for a moment. And what you're doing when you breathe that in is you are losing your human mind. When I used to do stupid stuff as a kid, my mother used to say, "Have you lost your natural mind?" And she was saying that a lot. But as an adult, I read Osho, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and he said, if you want to find God, you've got to lose your mind. And what he was saying was, our minds are filled with the garbage of lack. Our minds are filled with a garbage of conflict. Our minds are filled with a garbage caused by the belief that we were separate from God and God was mad at us. And that garbage, like they say in computer programming, garbage in, garbage out. If that's the garbage that's filling our minds, that's the garbage that we're projecting on the earth. But if we loose ourselves from that garbage, the only thing left is God. So regularly, and this is one of the practices for thriving. So regularly go into prayer. Regularly go into meditation. Regularly block out the world where it is only you and God. And where there is only you and God, there is no fear, there is no doubt, there is no smallness, there is no disempowerment, there is no shame, there is only the love of God as you, through you, for you were created by love, as love, for love. So go with God and loose yourself of everything else and watch how you can thrive. And I'm drawn to just summarize this part of the sermon. I'm drawn to a meme I saw on the internet, so it must be true. A cat can't be a lion if it still chases mice. And what that means is that if you choose to be the God self that you are, you have to release the small thoughts, the untrue thoughts that stand between you and the greatness of God within you. Every time you have a thought of doubt, that is an untrue thought that stands between you and the greatness of God that wants to express through you. Every time you have a fear, that is an untrue thought that stands between you and the greatness of God that lives within you. For God did not create you in an energy of fear. There is nothing to fear when you are whole and complete. There is nothing to fear when you are innocent. There is nothing to fear when you feel the love of God so fully, so completely, so regularly, and so deeply that you know that you are loved and you would not be hurt and you would not be rejected because you are the beloved of God and you would not cause harm to God's beloved. So each time you think like God, think with God, and allow God to think instead of your thoughts, which aren't thoughts at all, you loose yourself from the constraints that have held you from thriving. Amen? And then your slate is clear to make a different choice. Whereas before you may have chosen fear, you now can choose joy. I choose the joy of God instead of pain is one of my favorite lessons in A Course in Miracles. And you can choose the joy of God when you've released the fear that has been your default choice. You see, somewhere deep in our subconscious, we have unconsciously thought of this Judeo-Christian idea of guilt and sin and redemption. And all of the stories of our lives and all of the rhythms of our lives have been based on the stories of guilt and sin and redemption. When you look at any story, any movie, and any of those Hallmark Christmas movies, you see an arc. The arc is something that is a desire. The arc is some sort of mistake that has happened that caused confusion, and then the redemption. So this idea of sin and guilt and suffering and eventual redemption is drilled into our unconscious minds. And we have to release all the vestiges of that. Because you know what that does? It causes us to waste our most precious resource, which is God's energy, avoiding pain. Now, think about this. If everything you did yielded a tenfold return, every time you thought of pain based on this Judeo-Christian consciousness of guilt, every time you thought of pain and tried to avoid it, it just magnified the pain. What if you took all of that precious energy and instead pursued joy? And that joy would be returned to you tenfold. Just imagine how different your life would be. So realize you've already healed yourself, opened yourself, and released the thoughts that would cause pain. So there is no more need to waste your energy avoiding the pain that need not be. So what if you put that energy into pursuing joy? Well, what do you need to know to replace these Judeo-Christian thoughts of sin and guilt and redemption? You need a new thought. And that thought is A Course in Miracles, Lesson 103. God's will for us is perfect happiness, and we must agree with God. So what can we do? We can recognize, and I just started understanding this more deeply myself, because it was always theoretical, but then it became visceral for me. God needs you as a channel for its joy. You were created in a fit of joy. You were created in a burst of energy that was an ecstatic expression because God wanted to expand its expression and its experience of joy. So it cloned itself in you in order to magnify that joy. And anytime you choose not to be in joy, anytime the guilt and shame, or anytime the miseducation causes pain and suffering instead, it diminishes the joy of God. For you are a part of God, you are an extension of God, and you are an expression of God. So let's put it a different way so we can all understand it. Has anybody here ever had a toothache? Raise your hand if you've ever had a toothache. And it probably started on Friday at 6 o'clock and you couldn't get an appointment with a dentist till Tuesday at 10 a.m. and, and all weekend. Now, let me ask you this. Was that your happiest weekend in your life, or was that your worst weekend of your life? Your body, your whole body couldn't be happy if your tooth was in pain. If you bang your thumb with a hammer, your body can't be happy because your thumb is a part of your body. Well, by that same token, you are a part of God, and God's happiness is not complete until your happiness is complete. And you are doing God a favor and returning the gift of life God offered to you by letting that life shine in happiness and joy and peace. So choose joy. And one of the things that I've been guided to do recently by Spirit is to choose the option for joy. Everything is a choice. As Lorraine said earlier, we make 35,000 choices a day. Amen? Now, what if each of those choices that we made was based on the idea, what would bring me joy? What if each of those thoughts, each of those choices we made would magnify our joy? Our joy would be expanded, and we would be living replications of the joy of God. So, what's the third thing that we can do to thrive in 2025? The third thing we can do is laugh it away. And what do I mean by laugh it away? Once we decide that joy is our objective, once we decide that joy is our operating principle, once we decide that joy is our pursuit and we need not avoid pain, once we make that decision because we know that that is God's will for us, we can not take ourselves so seriously, for the guilt and the not enoughness that causes us to worry and to criticize ourselves and judge ourselves is gone. So we can laugh it away. And an illustration of this is in 1972, Diana Ross did this movie called Lady Sings the Blues. Anybody remember it? It was a movie about Billie Holiday, right? And she was nominated for an Academy Award for that movie. But guess who won? Liza Minnelli for her performance in Cabaret. And so in the back of the limousine afterwards, Diana Ross was despondent because she didn't win the Academy Award. And Berry Gordy said to her, Diana, who won the Academy Award for Best Actress last year? And Diana said, I don't know. And that put everything into perspective for her. We too have to put everything into perspective. You know, God still loves you no matter what mistake you made back in 1978. God will still love you no matter what mistake you make tomorrow. God still loves you despite any choice you made that had negative consequences at some point. So put it all into perspective. You are an eternal being. You are here to make mistakes. You are here to rediscover your light. And you only rediscover your light when you become aware of the darkness that caused you to make the mistake in the first place. So it's all good. So it's all holy. So as a result of that, laugh it away. It's not that important because God still loves you. It's not that important because God still supports you. It's not that important because there is nothing that can separate you from the love of God and God's love and support. So don't take it all so seriously. Treat it as the game that it is. As Florence Scovel Shinn said, the game of life is just a game. Play it for love, play it for joy, play it for peace. And as you allow yourself to just laugh it away, what you're really doing is you're immersing yourself in joy. And if you want more joy, immerse yourself in it. One of the things that Spirit told us recently in one of the classes was just give yourself a chance to play. And the more you play and the more joy you have, the more you attract more opportunities for play. This Judeo-Christian idea of working off our debt of guilt. What if we could instead play up God's gifts and play with God's gifts to us for joy instead? Laugh it away, play it away. For the more you laugh and play, the more light you hold. The more light you hold, the more you attract. The more light you attract, the more that light blesses others as well. So one of the things that it is important to make a priority if you want to thrive in 2025 is to laugh and play it away. Laugh and play it away. So if we want to thrive in 2025, play more. The more we play, the more joy we attract. If we want to thrive in 2025, loose the world from what we thought it was. If we want to thrive in 2025, choose joy instead of pain. And every time we make these choices 35,000 times a day, we can increase our experience of God by 35,000 times. So these are some ideas that we can use to thrive in 2025. So let me ask you this. If it is your job to thrive, if it is your job to be in joy, if it is your birthright and the reason you were placed here on the earth to magnify the light of God in joy, then how are you going to get to work in 2025 to do your job? Your job is not to struggle. Your job is not to worry. Your job is not to be in guilt and regret. Your job is to be in joy. Your job is to be in light. Your job is to remember who you are as God's beloved child. Your job is to let God's light and love shine upon you, shine through you, and be a beacon of light for all. And God being love is happiness, according to A Course in Miracles 104. And being the happiness and joy of God made manifest is your job. How are you going to do your job? Just imagine if you wake up every morning and say, my job is joy. God, show me how to do my job today. And let God guide you and let God lead you and let God protect you and let God fill you and let God remind you and let God place breadcrumbs along the way in the form of hidden support, guidance, and help from all corners of the earth. So if you want to thrive in 2025, do your job, which is to be in joy. And that's what I want to share with you today. Thank you.